Did you know that in 1908 the first car was available for us to buy? And we thought that was the end of bicycles as we know them. Bicycle industry these days is now worth, sorry, going in microphone. Bicycles these days are worth about £35 billion and rising in our industry globally. Did you know that when televisions were available for us all to buy, we thought that was the end of radio? Radio industry is huge. New radio stations are growing all the time, and podcasts just make it even more interesting. Did you know that when we could first work computers, buy computers, even before or long after they were in massive rooms like this, when they were small enough for us to buy, we thought that was the end of paper. End of paper. What's your office desk look like? Piled with paper? I've got paper everywhere. I seem to spend so much time destroying paper, taking it to the waste paper place, or shredding it, or moving it to my kitchen, or making it out to the kitchen when the guests come, or I'm moving paper everywhere. I don't know if you relate to this, but I certainly do. So paper is, paper is here to stay, so we thought. Except that now, our children are going to school and they're given a tablet. And on the tablet are downloaded all the textbooks they're going to need for their whole school life in that particular school. And so much so, they think now that's the death knell of books and even writing. Now, I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. I think, with all the experience that I've just talked about, that we're able to have both running alongside one another. And that's what we're going to talk to today. But I tell you what is really interesting. They tell you that the end of paper and we've got computers doing everything now. What is this? Do you know what that is? It's to write on computers. We are now, rather than the computers stopping us writing, we're now writing on our laptops, our tablets and our iPhones. I think that's absolutely ridiculously ironic that we are deciding now that writing's good and we're going backwards and using that with our computer screens. Fantastic, just absolutely love it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about why writing is so important for our mental development. We're going to be talking about what it means to grow the brain, develop it when we use the act of writing, and that's why it's so important in the card industry, because writing, of course, is what everybody does in their cards. We're also going to be talking about the emotional value of cards. So there's 3 stages to a card, isn't there? There's choosing one, buying it, and sending it. And it's really important that we understand the emotional journey when it comes to that. And of course, what we're also going to be doing is talking about what all this means to you. My biggest Achilles heel is that I need to be useful. I can't not be useful, really can't. So although I'm a neuroscientist, if not what I say is not useful to you, I go away thinking I failed for the rest of the day. So I'm going to make sure that everything I say, you can think of how you're going to use it in your work, in your sales, in your marketing, and so on and so forth. Does that sound good? Yeah? Okay. Right. I want you now to think of a problem or a challenge that you have at work. It could be in your sales, it could be in marketing, it could be with a member of staff, it could be your colleague, it could be a supplier, whatever you wish it to be. I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about that, and I want you to write it down if you wish. I don't want you to share it, I'm not going to do any of that stuff. I just want you to think about a problem that you've got. I'm just going to give you a couple of seconds to do that. Okay, got it? Okay, good. I want you, everything I say for the next 15 minutes or so is to frame my words into your problems. And that's the way it's going to be useful. So everything I come up with, you think, hang on a minute, how's that going to work? And at the end, if you've got a question, and we have time, I will answer it. If not, I'll answer it over lunch, because I'm sticking around for a scrummy lunch apparently, which is very good. So that's what we'll do. Okay, you on board with this? Right, okay, I'm going to start with a story. The story is when I was a little girl. My grandfather used to write all my birthday cards. Not my grandmother, always my grandfather. In fact, he wrote all the cards for the whole family, and he wrote all the Christmas cards as well. And I can never understand that. I thought, why is my grandfather writing the Christmas cards? He put both my grandparents on it, but it was always my grandfather who did it. And then when I got to about 16, my grandfather became very ill, and he decided he was going to teach my grandmother how to write cheques. I'm going, what? My grandmother can't write a cheque? That is just surreal. Didn't get it at all. And my grandmother was a very tiny, tiny lady, very shy and very, very timid. Now, I don't look very timid, do I? I'm not a timid sort of person. I don't come from a timid family, but she was always very timid, and I couldn't understand why she was always so different from the rest of us. My grandfather kept trying to teach her to write cheques, but she didn't want to know. She wouldn't do it. He knew that he was not going to be much longer on this earth, so he decided that it was good for her to be able to pay the bills, but she wasn't having it. Now, I don't know whether my grandmother just wasn't interested, or she wasn't able to learn a new technique at the age she was, which was 65. I didn't know about that. So I decided to think it through, and as I've thought it through now, by looking back on my life, and this is my grandmother's classroom. She was born in 1908, and she's there in that picture. That's how they looked. Those children were there from the ages of about, 6 to 10 or something, or maybe even later. Now, she was born in 1908, which means that the centuries before, the superstitions that people had still carried forward into the 20th century. So in 1908, when she got to about 10, which would be 1918, the superstitions were still there. Now, the thing that was different about my grandmother in terms of the rest of the family wasn't just the fact that she was timid, it was also that she was left-handed. And the superstition in those days was you were some kind of devil incarnate. They thought that the devil baptized his disciples using his left hand. There's all sorts of rumours, all sorts of nonsense that people brought through the centuries. So, my grandmother's teacher would go around with my grandmother trying terribly hard with her left hand, trying to write, and get a thwack straight across the back of her hand with a ruler, making her use her right hand. It was normal. Now, 10% of the global population are left-handed. I reckon this teacher must have broken a lot of rulers, because she was always slapping people to try and make them use their right hand. Now, in a way, I can sort of understand that, because she was probably trying to stop the children being associated with something evil. But nevertheless, it demonstrated to me that my grandmother hated writing so much. My grandfather did it for her. Now, I think perhaps this is a reason why, not just why she was timid, but also why she was not able to learn as easily as people who were used to writing. And that's what we're going to talk about more of, because writing, of course, is manual dexterity, as we know. If we didn't have manual dexterity, we would not be at the top of the food chain today. It made us develop into Homo sapiens because we had the brain, eye and hand coordination going on. So you had this virtual circle all the time happening. And that is what has developed our brain so incredibly well. The writing side of it is even more important because it is part of our mental development. If we don't write, not just as children, but as adults as well, if we don't write, then we stop using a huge amount of our brain. We stop using, for instance, you're planning something to write, yeah? So you write it, so using the prefrontal cortex. I've got a squodgy brain here. It's a stress brain. I've got a few of them, you can have them if you want. Okay, if you want. So you've got here, so you've got the frontal part of the brain, this bit here, that's about planning. So you've got to plan what you write. Once you've planned it, you've then got to execute it. That's the motor cortex going on. And also the parietal lobes, which are here, which is all about spatial awareness. Then once you have got that sorted out, you've written something down, then you're going to assess it, whether it's any good or not. So once you assess it, you're using the judgment part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex again, and the frontal lobe. And of course, you're also using your visual cortex at the back of the brain, and you're using memory, huge amounts of memory, which is all over the brain. So what you've got is you've got this amazing neural pathways that's taking so much brain because of writing. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's really cool. Okay, the other thing we've got to talk about is what if you are typing in your laptop and you make mistakes? That's fine, isn't it? You make mistakes, you've got erase, you've got delete, you can cut and paste, do all that stuff. But what if we're writing down, we've got to take extra concentration because we can't make so many mistakes. We've got to attend to it in more detail. Now if writing is helping us learn, it is also helping us have ideas, so we become innovators. So it's not just children, we should be learning through the day we die, no matter how old we are, because we're capable of learning till the day we die, no matter how old we are, and that's what we should be doing, because that will keep certain dementias away and also keep us healthy. So we've got to stay curious, we've got to keep learning. So that's absolutely superb. When you are writing and everything's looking rather beautiful, that's why I love any kind of greetings card. I like to make it a sort of a ritual, something that is beautiful to do. Now last May, it was my birthday, and I was given this, an exquisite fountain pen. Does anyone here use a fountain pen? Yeah, hands up, show me. I love it. About 10th of you. Are you all left-handed? Sorry. Okay, so right, this is my fountain pen. You probably can't see it at the back, but basically I've taken the top off and I'm now turning it, and out comes the nib. Isn't that exquisite? Do you know, when I use my fountain pen, and I've got green ink on it, by the way, I love green ink. When I use my fountain pen, I even sit up straight. Now, I spend most of my day at my laptop looking like a slob. I was sitting really awkwardly, all scrunched up, all twisted. When I write with my fountain pen, I sit up and I use it. I love it. My fountain pen gives me huge pleasure. Now, why is that important? When we put the brain in a pleasurable state, we are the most effective and efficient we can be. Always. Promise you. My fountain pen does that for me. So I feel efficient and I feel effective. What happens in my brain when that happens is when my brain is in a pleasurable state, dopamine, one of the neurochemicals in the brain, which is all about reward and motivation, floods my brain big time. Okay, absolutely floods it. And I feel more motivated to work. I feel more motivated to be innovative, to be creative, to think outside the box, which is you really need in a working environment. And another neurochemical that's stimulated is serotonin. Now, I'm sure you've heard of serotonin. Serotonin is the happy trapping. It's all about mood, sleep, appetite, and emotion. So we eat better, we sleep better, we're not so moody, we're actually happier. Amazing what a fountain pen can do, isn't it, than writing a beautiful card? We also stimulate something called neuropeptides, which are tiny little molecules in proteins. Now, neuropeptides are really delicious stuff because they have this two-way relationship going on. Neuropeptides turn on emotion. Emotion turns on neuropeptides. So when we are putting the brain in the pleasurable state again, we turn on neuropeptides. Now, neuropeptides control hormones. They help us heal after injury. They support our immunity system. Now, we're all walking around with all sorts of illnesses inside us, but if our immunity system is working well, that's great. Our body behaves itself. So it's really important that we stimulate neuropeptides by pleasure, by putting the brain in a pleasurable state. And one of the ways is greeting cards and so on and so forth, and writing in them. What about the emotional journey? Now, the emotional value is, let's take it from step one. My friend John has a birthday coming up. So I'm now thinking about John. I'm thinking about John, I'm thinking about what is it that John likes to do? What is it? Does he fish? Does he like cars? Does he like funny cards? Does he want slushy cards? What does he like? So I'm now thinking of John. The brilliant news about that is, whilst I'm thinking of someone else, I'm not thinking about me. I am taking a respite from my problems. I'm taking a respite from any kind of challenge that I've got. When we just think of ourselves, we close down our attention. We really close right down. So the reason we do that is because we are trying to work out how to fix the perceived threat. But when we open up our vision, that's when we are creative. And we can't do that if we feel fearful. So, and we can't do it if we've got to think when we're thinking of ourselves. So we need to open up. So when you're thinking of buying somebody a card, which you might be able to use this in your marketing or the problem that you've been thinking of, if you are opening up like that, you will actually find that people are much better off. So you've got this card and this person, you're thinking about them, and now you go to a card shop or a website. Now I challenge you this one. I challenge you all, next time you're in a card shop, to watch what's going on in there. You will find people who pick up cards really quickly. You'll find people who are in the zone. They're just thinking of the card. They're thinking of the person they're buying the card for. Their level of concentration is such that they are mindful of what they're doing. Another word that you might be able to use in your marketing, mindfulness has become a very popular word in our culture. It is becoming more so. So people are actually being mindful when they're buying cards and thinking of somebody else, which is fantastic. In fact, I was at a card shop recently, and there was somebody in the aisle, and I couldn't get past her. And I said, excuse me? Nothing. Excuse me? Nothing. Excuse me, could I just squeeze past? And she wasn't being rude. She wasn't deaf. She was just mindful, focusing so much on buying the cards. And that's what happens with buying cards. And that's what happens in your industry. And this is why your industry is so fantastic. So how can you think about all of this in your work? How can you think about, okay, we want people to be healthy, we've got to put them in a pleasurable state. What does that mean to shops? What does that mean to my website? What does that mean to the people who work for me? What does that mean when I talk to suppliers? What does that mean when all the sort of relationships you have? You've got to get the brain in this pleasurable state so that you're as effective as you can be. So let's sum up. What is the time? Are we off at time? Okay. No, we'll take questions over lunch if you want. Basically, if you have got thinking about the mental development of somebody, of how they're writing, helping them learn better, helping them with their ideas and innovation. That's what writing will do. You then go right the way through that journey, and you then stimulate all those neuropeptides and all those other things I talked about by the journey of buying a card. And then you've also got this emotional journey of the step-by-step thing going on, where people are mindful about buying a card, where they're finding pleasure about buying a card and writing in a super-duper pen. In fact, how about supplying them? Just a thought. And then, all of a sudden, you're making a lot more money. And that's the biggest point, isn't it? Especially as I understand the dollar sterling problem could be kicking up dust as of tomorrow. So another story. But so it's important that we think about how to think outside the box in terms of generating business. So ladies and gentlemen, to sum up, I honestly do mean this. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Greeting cards both enable and empower everybody.